What's going on, troopers? Welcome to the Trooper Transmission. And today we got my man John coming in to talk all things fitness and trooper. And I got to say, the best background of any interview I have done. So
There you
well
go.
done. And
I
shirt. Is that a
try.
trooper shirt?
Yeah, yeah, helmet shirt, man. It's that was a little birthday gift I got. So
So
helmets galore.
tell the people what they really need to know. Where do
Right.
you get these cool shirts?
Yeah, yeah, not sponsored, but this there's a great company called Roosevelt's. It's pronounced Roosevelt's, but it's spelled rsvlts.com. They have a huge selection of Star Wars things, and I'm telling you, the quality is impeccable. They're super comfortable. Anywhere you go, like Star Wars fans will like point you out. I've got a really cool one coming up that I'm excited to wear. It's a plaid shirt, like a lumberjack plaid, but the plaid lines are made out of lightsabers. So it's real
Okay.
subtle. So you can wear it places and people like go by and they're like, hey, wait a second. I know what that is. It's great.
So I'm gonna need links to send to my wife for the holidays or
Absolutely.
either Christmas or my birthday. So
Yes,
I'll sync with you
indeed.
on that later.
I will take
But
care of it.
Yeah, let's dive into your fitness journey because it's been super cool to watch where you started and where you're at now. And so just wind that clock back, maybe the start of 2024, kind of just where you were at, what you were struggling with, and what kind of inspired you to make a change.
Yeah. So I work in healthcare. I happen to be a physician. I work in the emergency department. I love what I do. But healthcare right now, just like a lot of other industries, is a pretty tumultuous place. And so I was working at that. I was feeling pretty stressed all the time. And this happened to just be kind of a big year for me. I was turning 50. And holidays kind of come and go and the typical New Year's wishes, right? Not resolutions, but wishes. Oh, this year I'm going to do this, this, and this, right? And I had kind of tried some fitness things in the past. I just, felt like I wasn't the best version of myself showing up to work and talking to my patients. And I'm really lucky. I'm a teacher of young physicians, and I get to work with a lot of cool resident doctors and students. And I just felt like I wasn't bringing myself the best every day. So I started off the year in, not so great of a place, fitness wise. And so, as that birthday got closer, I just kind of started to kind of take stock, and I was looking around for just kind of an idea, right? Because I'm I mean, I've been through medical school, I've been through residency, I've got stick-to-itiveness, right? So it was just a matter of maybe finding the right thing. And I was clicking through one day and saw saw basically a guy in a helmet working out, and I thought, well, that was pretty cool. And it kind of just like caught my attention. And I kind of started looking at it and thinking about it a little bit. And then when the birthday got here, I changed that into my new year. I was like, okay, you're halfway to a century warrior. So if you're gonna do it, do it. And so that was the day after my birthday, was the day I signed up. And been doing the fitness kind of journey ever since. Haven't looked back.
I love that, where you used proof of the past. And I'll see this a lot where someone will say, "Oh, I can't be consistent." But a lot of times it's they lack the structure and the vision of where they're headed, just like you would have done for school and for residency. And
Yeah.
so a lot of times people say like, "Oh, I'm not motivated," but a lot of times it's getting in that structure and being able to then go and say, "Well, I've been able to get a degree, or I've been able to go to trade school, or I was able to raise a kid. Like if I can do that, I could be consistent with the nutrition thing." So I wanted to call that out because I find that that's a really good tool to use if you ever find yourself saying, "Oh, I don't know if I can do that." Look for evidence in other areas where you have been successful and use that as kind of a proof of, "Oh, I actually can do this. I've done something way harder," which your background
Yeah.
in medicine is, I would say, way harder. And so I love that. And as you got started, I'd be curious, what were some of the initial either mental or physical challenges you were running into? And what did you do, or perspective shifts that you had that helped you kind of start to navigate those as you're in your, as you said, at half century mark?
Yeah. So I think the first thing is I had a lot of kind of excuses in my head that were just that. They were things that I created and I could end. And I just kind of needed to have some structure, some guidance. It's one thing to like know, right? Like as a physician, I know what healthier eating looks like. I know what exercise should be. But this isn't like a brain thing. It's not that you're like stupid or smart. It's not like you're a hard worker, you're not. It's just that sometimes you just can't do the thing because you don't have the tools or the resources or the time or the framework. And what I really needed was some guidance on some things that were just very practical that I could just do. So, for example, I work a lot of rotating shifts in emergency medicine, and I can't always decide when I'm going to eat, right? I can't do a diet where, okay, I got to eat at 4 o'clock because, then your window is closed. I might be doing a resuscitation at 4 o'clock and don't get done until five. And then you've kind of already broken your own rules, right? So I needed something that was flexible and I needed to have some guidance on how to do that, how I could be like a normal person, because sometimes I'm going to work late, sometimes my shift is going to get away from me. Um, but the biggest challenge actually for me was um, every time I start kind of or had started working out, I kind of had this vision of where I should be, right? Like you look around and you see other people in the gym or you see people in the video or whatever doing a thing and you kind of forget how they got there, right? Like, because all you see is like right there on the screen. Like, here's this guy wearing a helmet and doing all the things. And I don't think we've ever actually talked about this, but one of the things that's really important you do in all of your videos, which is kind of what I started with, right? I started with just kind of body weight stuff and kind of doing the cadet series that you had out there. One of the things that I was really big into was just kind of using my body weight to do things. But I really couldn't finish a lot of those workouts. Like I would get halfway through and I was winded, right? But in every video at different points, you say things like, it's okay to modify if you need to. Like it's okay, and you would have, sometimes you would show a modification. But then something just clicked where I'm like, I'm getting some guidance out there, but it's not like he's looking back. If I take 30 seconds to catch my breath today, the only person that really knows is me. And that's cool because I can do that. And then next time go, I'm only going to rest for 15 seconds. And so you get that positive encouragement, which it's also something that you can do at your own time and own pace and hold accountable to yourself. And progress is progress. That was the biggest thing that I had to overcome, was that idea that I should be at a certain place by a certain time. Instead, I kind of got the mentality that forward is forward. One more rep is enough, right? Like that's it. You don't always have to have a personal best every workout, but it should be a personal best in the sense of you were just a little bit better, you tried a little bit harder, you got a little bit closer. And that was the big thing I had to overcome.
That is huge. And I'm curious, with your background professionally, do you view things as like you're successful in that area, so you should find the same level of success in other areas of life? Like, do you kind of transfer that high performer mindset of like, all right, I need to be able to do this by this amount of time because that's where you've seen yourself in other areas? Or do you look at it as totally separate?
No, I look at it as the same, but what's funny was I had the ability, but I couldn't transfer the knowledge from my professional life, where I would like to think I'm pretty good at what I do, right? Basically teaching, Jedi physicians who are in their training,
Yeah.
right? Um, to my own life in the realm of fitness, in the realm of like my own health. And so what I meant by that was I would routinely work with residents and students who will make mistakes, right? That's part of, it's expected, it's how you learn. And they would, or different parts of their training, right? Like they would come and they wouldn't know how to read EKGs as well as I can, right? But the thing is, they also haven't done it for near as long as I have, and they haven't made the same mistakes I've made, and they haven't learned. And so I would always tell them like it's okay. Like you didn't get that one right, or it's okay. You'll get it next time, or now you've learned that, right? Now's when you can make true progress. But I couldn't flip and do that for myself. I couldn't, my own ego was getting in the way of like I've got to be able to do like X number of push-ups, or I didn't really finish this workout. And when I was able to make that switch of like, no, no, I'm really the youngling or the Padawan in this particular case. Um, and so I need to be okay with, I can't be okay with not doing my best, but I can be okay if I can't do that thing yet. Because there's no like it's not like you've ever shown up on my computer and been like, well, man, you didn't do exactly this number of push-ups. That workout doesn't count, right? It's always like, yeah, you did the workout. You did the best you could do. Awesome. Next time you'll do better or you'll do different or you'll know something better. And I think that's the thing, right? It's so funny to me that you can take something that's so clear in one aspect of your life, but just you feel like you're not worthy of that in the other aspects of your life. And when I had that mind flip, it became a different game.
Dude, I love that you use the word ego and really you're just getting at this idea of letting go of attachments, which is very Jedi and very Yoda, and the whole
Yes.
like train yourself to
Good.
let go of
Yeah.
everything you fear to lose. A lot of times that is the ego.
Oh,
And you being able to recognize that is so massive because you're right. I'm not gonna be mad at you if you don't do 10 push-ups, if you only do eight. But I think a lot of people get attached that it's supposed to look a certain way and that their fitness journey is supposed to look just like their neighbors or that they're supposed to be as far along. I even myself personally can get caught in this, oh, well, he's 33 and he's further ahead than me in this area, so I'm behind, as opposed
yeah.
to just looking at it as a personal journey. And you're right, you're going to be a Padawan in one area, you're going to be a Jedi Master in another area, and almost like being comfortable being a beginner. And sometimes
Yeah.
I think humans are wired to not want to be a beginner because we don't want to show maybe that weakness. But whether it's a video game or fitness or being a doctor, everyone had to merge onto the freeway for the first time and be terrible. And then the more
Yes.
repetitions you do, the better you get.
Yeah, and I'm really blessed. I work with some amazing physicians and nurses who are very fitness oriented. They're the kind of people that can wake up in the morning and go run a 5K, right? And so, it's interesting because that was just something that I was like, well, that's something I can't do. And what's changed about that is now I'm like, good for them. Man,
Mm,
if I wanted to do that, it would just take me some time to do that, right? To change into that. And if that's who I want to be, I can do that. And it's interesting because that relationship just reinforces good things between folks. We talk about it all the time, right? That even with different types of patients that we see, you can have different levels. Like I can be really good at one type of patient because I have a lot of experience with them, but then I may get a really unique, confusing, challenging patient. And the first thing I do after I get them stable is call, phone a friend, right? Call a subspecialist who takes care of that kind of patient all the time. Um, I might be a Padawan in that space, even though I can be a great physician in all the other things. And when you realize that that's all ego, right? Because interestingly, they experience the same thing when they're not in their specialty space. You know, I get referrals from them all the time. Hey, I'm a specialty physician in this, and somebody came in my office with this, and that's not what I do. Can you help, please? When you can let go of that ego, and then especially in fitness, right? When it wasn't about like my journey has become something I care about, not that I care about other people caring about, which is the biggest you know, shift really for me in just the space of, yeah, I just do this for me now.
yeah.
Um, and that feels really good because now it's something that I own and I'm responsible for. And I think that's a much healthier relationship with my own ego and alter ego. Now it's just my choice of does this work for me? And if not, then that's okay. But I'm not looking for like external validation. It's cool when it happens, right? When somebody says, "Hey, man, I can see you've been working out," or like, "Wow, you look like you've lost some weight. Are you trying to do that? Like, if so, great job, that all feels really good. But what feels better is like waking up and not creaking so much and like, getting up off the floor really easy, as opposed to like having to think about it, and plot your journey up from sitting. So yeah,
Yeah. You mentioned the alter ego, which is kind of this fun avatar type thing that we create. What's your interpretation of that? And for anyone who's maybe new to the idea, or even obviously a year ago, maybe you would have been new to it. What's been maybe not your relationship, but how has that helped you? Right? Because in the community, you're Inferno, right?
yeah,
That's like your
yeah.
your alter ego. How do you see that as a tool in your tool belt?
Well, first of all, I think it was super cool to earn a trooper name, right? Because you get a trooper designation, but you kind of earn your name, and I think that's a cool little hidden gem. Maybe not hidden now because we're talking about it, but it's a cool little hidden gem of the community when it happens, right? Because you don't really know when it's going to happen or how it's going to come, so that's kind of cool. But the interesting thing about it is, the trooper name kind of learns or kind of manifests from your engagement with the community and the other people there. And right, it's more than just the fitness aspect. It's your personality. It's how you communicate with other people. It's what other people see in you that maybe you don't see in yourself, or you wouldn't necessarily think of your alter ego that way. But the thing about an alter ego that is so cool is it kind of gives you this, when I'm in this space, this is who I represent. This is who I like to be in this space. Because you can be, right? We all have different parts of ourselves that we show in different spaces. I mean, that's just how we function in society, right? There's got to be a different Paul at home with his youngling, than there is when Paul is out on the street like jogging, right? You can be the same core person, but there's a little bit of a different person, and then there's got to be a different person when you're at a trade show, or when you're working with a client who's going through a problem or something, right? The same thing for me. I'm pretty much the same guy, but there is a different version of me when I show up to work. And what's fun about it is you don't really think about that in fitness, but because you have this kind of alter ego character, you do think about it. And what I thought was cool was, even before I got my trooper name, um, I saw some people in the community talking about how, um, you know, they really felt bummed, like they really didn't feel like working out that day. But that's something that Charger wouldn't do. Charger's another trooper friend of mine, right? So Charger would miss a workout, right? And in this space, that's who you embody, that's who you are. And so I do think, whether people like to say it or not, you kind of have this alter ego that you want to live up to. You want to respect that name that the community gave you. So yeah, I like to embrace Inferno. I like to be on fire. I like to be engaged. I like to talk to people. I like to hear what they're struggling with. I like to help them where I can. And then I like to move. I like to do stuff now. I like to do the workouts. I like to do these things, which is the biggest shift after, many, many months. It didn't happen overnight. It certainly wasn't easy. It takes work, right? But the fun thing was the reward you get. Like, you just don't understand how cool it is when other troopers give you a trooper name. It's like you feel like there's this little piece of your brain where you're like, oh, I made it. Like I did it. I'm in the club. Like, they thought I was cool enough to give me a name. It's so silly, right? Like, but it's also not silly at all, because it's what we all kind of look for, right? Which is a community of acceptance. So that's the biggest thing. Like, Nobody cares if I get on there and say, man, my workout was really bad today. I could only do 10 minutes of it and I just didn't feel like doing anything else. Like people will get on there and go, yeah, man, I've had a day like that too. You'll be back on it tomorrow, man. Inferno will be back on fire. Don't worry about it. And sometimes that's what you need. And sometimes you need it from people that are just um, not right there with you, right? But are with you in a different space. So yeah, I love it.
Yeah. Yeah, and you've completely ran with it. You're the perfect guy to use it, right? Because it's like you're in doctor mode, you're in there doing surgeries, and then boom, I'm in fitness mode and I'm progressing and I'm well, I think what's cool for you is that you're at this like this milestone at 50, and now that almost in a way is like a new alter ego, I would
Hmm.
say, where it's like, okay, like I'm no longer in my 40s, now I am, and for anyone reading between the lines here, I am is one of the most powerful phrases you can use because whatever comes after that is how you see yourself. And so being able to say, I am Inferno, with that comes the character traits of Inferno: discipline, consistency, persistence. What is a trooper? Right? They're disciplined.
Right.
What is someone
Yeah.
who needs to lose weight or wants to transform their body? They're persistent. So you're able to tap into that. And so I think that's it's really cool seeing you do that because you've really run with it, and I think it's really helped you see amazing results. And I'd be curious for you what you see as like maybe some of the biggest wins over 2024 and what you're continuing to work towards and hopeful for in 2025 and beyond.
Yeah. So for sure there are a couple of things, right? And I'm not trying to minimize these. They're super cool, but it's cool when you drop a belt size, when you all of a sudden notch a different part of your belt. And it's even cooler when all of a sudden you run out of holes on your belt and now you got to get a whole new belt, right? Um, it's really nice when people notice that you have lost some weight and they are authentically just happy for you because they know what you're doing, and they know you're trying to do it and they see you succeeding in that. But the real wins for me, because I know there are going to be a lot younger people out there too, right? I don't consider 50 old by any stretch, but certainly, um, I'm not 20, I'm not 30 anymore, right? So there are things that you do start to notice as you get older, right? And just the everyday activities and things. And I had started to kind of notice that I would, think about that, or I would skip out on activities because of a fear that I couldn't fully participate. Um, and the biggest thing for me really is that I don't really worry about that anymore. Like I'll show up to the game of pickleball. I'll show up to the random outing our residents who are much younger and fitter than I am are going to do. I will sign up for the turkey trot. I'll do those things. Um, and Inferno doesn't care about getting first place or the fastest time or winning the game, but he's there to be there. He's there to be engaged, to be able to do it. And so those everyday activities, and we do this great thing called like wins of the week. And there's this great, still my favorite one of the week was the moment that I had been doing some stuff and I had sat down on the floor and I just stood up from it. And it was so funny because I know to people out there, they're like, oh, you stood up. Okay, great job. Right. But that's not the thing. The thing is, right? Like I had gotten so used to like bracing myself when I stood up or standing up in a certain way in a certain order so that I didn't have to worry about falling over, to be quite honest, right? Um, and the day that I just hopped up from the floor, I was like, wow, you've changed. Like you physically changed in such a way that you no longer are afraid to do something that most people feel is just something you ought to be able to do anyway, right? And that for me was just the biggest win. And that created this space of like, well, I wonder what else I can do now that I have a story that I can't do that. Um, and so it opened up this whole world again of me trying things that I kind of like said, well, I'm not going to be able to do that anymore. And that's been super cool. That's been the best thing. It's opened up a world of things again that I had closed the door on, and I'm really thankful for that.
One, that's amazing. I've been I saw recently this quote, I forget who it was from, maybe Albert Einstein or something, where it was like simplicity is the ultimate form of sophistication. And so often with fitness, we want to see like, oh, I did a muscle up or I did, X amount of weight lifted. But the things that are like the moments where you're like, oh wow, like things have changed is often the most simple things. And as you get older or as you progress in your fitness, like I don't view myself as old. I don't view 50 as old. Hopefully, we got another 50, 60, 70 years. But the things I think you appreciate the most are the most simple things.
Hmm.
And I'd be curious for you, like for someone who maybe that is a challenge and they're like, yeah, I actually do have a hard time getting up off the floor. What are the like tactical things that you've noticed have helped contribute to that? Like, is it strength training? Is it stretching? Is it what would you attribute to that?
Yeah, yeah, and I think for full transparency for folks, part of the reason I had difficulty moving around is I have I have a muscular dystrophy, right? And I'm very blessed in the sense of it's not a it's, it hasn't really impaired my life too much, but it definitely has its moments where it makes things a challenge. So I think part of that is where my fear of, falling, getting injured, that kind of manifests. And so one of the things that I really like is when I started, um, we really focused more on just being engaged and doing things and seeing how they felt. And I really appreciate that you were very deliberate and thoughtful with that. Like, let's try dumbbells, let's try kettlebells, let's do some bands, let's do a combo of exercises and see what works. Um, and then once I kind of had those fundamentals down, and we kind of found some things like, yeah, those are really easy. These are things that maybe you have access to, right? Like maybe you could do these, but you just haven't done them as much. You don't seem to bring you joy. So let's not focus on those. Let's focus on the things the exercises the types of exercises you enjoy, and let's challenge it further. So we started adding in some balance exercises, some kind of traditional exercises with a balance component, or something just a little bit different, right? Like box squats, which I had never heard of, not thought about until you introduced me to them. Where it's not just about the simple maneuver, but there's some balance, there's some timing, there's the training your body to be able to like stop and start suddenly, um, and control a movement, right? Whereas it's really easy just to say, okay, well, we want to go up by 5 pounds by this amount of time. It's more about, no, I want you to really be able to do this thing. And then the other component that I had really never tried and honestly had wanted to was yoga, which we folded into my workouts just as like a 1 day a week, almost kind of. I keep telling folks it's like an intro to yoga, right? Because I have a lot of questions about it still, and I'm still trying to. But I've done multiple sessions that now, and I really like the components of it that focus on the balance and just the challenging your body to do things that it doesn't normally do that aren't at the level I'm doing it aren't really that sophisticated, but reinforce that mind body connection that you need, and that you can kind of start to lose when you stop doing regular workouts. So it's really enhanced it. I've really enjoyed it. I think that's been key to kind of why I've gotten those functional gains that I've really started to see.
Yeah, yoga is great. I love that you mentioned box squat because it has a ton of transference to getting off the couch or what toilet or just off the ground, right? Things like
Right.
that, just starting from a dead stop and going. And
Yeah.
so all great points of just the other thing too is just like finding things you enjoy because you're not going to be consistent with things you hate. And so we could almost segue that into like your three keys to success, right? And kind of like given where you're at in your fitness journey, the challenges you have maybe of crazy long shifts or um, you know, conditions you're working around. Like, what would you say your three keys to success are? Like the three things that you'd say, like, to your younger self or younger brother almost in the exact same spot where it's like, hey, focus on these three things, whether it's strategic, tactical, and that's going to be your 80/20, where you're going to see, 20% of your effort gives you 80% of the results.
Yeah. So the first one for me would be that yesterday and every day before it is gone, live in the moment, right? The the best time to start or to get back on track if you feel like you're off track is right now, like today. So you don't have to wait and pick a day, just make it a day and start. And if you have what you think is a day that you're not on track, tomorrow that can be fixed, and you can be right back on it. So I think that's the key for me, number one. Number two, I think recognizing that consistency and commitment over time yields way better dividends than trying to do all of it, everything all at once. One of the things you were very specific about with me was focusing on one thing at a time, right? It's great. Do your workouts, do your things, but we're going to focus on nutrition first. We're going to focus on this one thing and we're going to do this one thing. And when you've got that down, then we can move and do a couple of other things, right? And eventually you're able to do that. So, you know, point one, start now. Point two, just start with one thing. And then number three, the big thing that I would tell myself is that progress is progress. Stop trying to judge your success based on what you see on a screen or what somebody is telling you, or even what the scale says, right? Um, the funniest thing for me was there was a period of time where the scale was staying kind of right where it was at. It was hovering. Um, to be honest, I wasn't really worked up about that. I know some people get worked up about that. I wasn't really worked up about that because I've done this long enough to know that that will happen. Um, but what was funny was during that same time was when all of a sudden I just realized like, oh, the shirt's looser and the pants are a little looser and your body is still changing. So don't let any one thing define your success. Find every day what your progress was for the day, even if that progress was just I stuck to my diet today, or I stuck to my commitment to eat enough protein, or I stuck to my commitment to, you know, go to bed and get 8 hours of sleep. Like whatever it is, let that be your win for the day. Let that be your progress. And don't worry about all of the 50 years before, right? You're where you are now. And I think had I known that many years ago and really been able to embrace that concept, I wouldn't have worried about 25 about the fact that I wasn't 20 anymore. I wouldn't have worried about 30 that I wasn't 20 anymore. Because now I don't worry about the fact that I'm not 40 or 30 or 20 anymore. This is just a fact. It's never going to happen again. But I can be a really great version of me at 50, and I can be a better version on 50 plus one day. So that's my third point.
Heck yeah. That reminds me of the quote when Yoda says, when 800 years old you are, look this good, you will not. I'm like,
This guy
John's
right
like,
here.
when 50 years old you are, look this good, you will not. Hmm?
That's exactly
Uh,
right. My ears are growing hair even as we speak.
one last one that I don't want to leave without you mentioning is your cool little thing that you do on the mirror in the bathroom. Because I think whether it's
Yeah.
push-ups or planks or
Yep.
weight on the scale, it's a
Yep.
really cool mechanism to visualize like progress.
Yeah, so thanks for reminding me because that's kind of now it's so much of what I do. I don't even think about it as like a technique anymore. It's what I do. So again, kind of that idea that progress is progress. And if it's almost exhausting, right? If you look at it and you go, man, to be my ideal body weight, I got to lose 80 pounds or 100 pounds or 130 pounds, right? That's so much, right? Like you can't wrap your mind around it. So, but I can wrap my mind around 5 pounds. 5 pounds is like a bag of flour or a bag of sugar. Like I can pick up a weight and go, this is 5 pounds. That's what that is, right? And so 5 pounds, to be quite honest, never really feels that far away, right? And so what I do is I take whatever weight I was at when I started, and that was my number, and then I just put the nearest lowest 5 pound increment of that, right? So I started at 268, and so the first thing I did was I had a post-it note that said 265. and I stuck it on the bathroom mirror. And it wasn't, there was no date or time or whatever on it. It was just there every day to remind me that that's the goal and 5 pounds is doable. 5 pounds is within reach. Like you can do this. And so then the fun thing happens when you hit 265 and you get to take it down and you get to put 260. Um, and you look at that for a while, right? Because it doesn't change in a day. You're not gonna, it's just there. It's just your little, for me, it's just this little reminder of that that's the next goal, that you have a tangible goal. It's reachable. I can definitely do that. And then over time, you start to look down and see your little stack of post-it notes. You go from one to two, two to four, four to 10. You go 10 post-it notes. That's 50 pounds. It's a lot of bags of sugar right there, right? And you start to feel really good about it. So, I find that that incremental change supports that philosophy of like progress over perfection, right? I don't I don't care what my final weight. I care about the journey and the joy of getting to that next little post-it note and being able to go, man, come on down. Here's the next one. Yeah, so maybe somebody out there can use that, and I hope it helps them.
Yep. And three little keys that I take away from that, and I love that you called it out. One, there's no date assigned to it, right? So no expectation that it needs to be 265 by a certain date. It's just, hey, that's the next checkpoint.
That's the next one.
You made it 5 pounds, not 10, not 20, not 50, right?
Yeah.
Inch by
Yep.
inch. And
Yep.
then the other one too is as you pile up success and proof, you're like, oh, look at all these post-it notes. Look at all this proof that I can. And the more
Yep.
you can just stack proof, the more belief that creates. And so it's this compounding thing. I think you're sitting on a gold mine. So whether it's you or someone watching this, do it because it's a really cool technique and tool to make your goals seem achievable. Keep them front of mind too. I think that's a fourth one for anyone
Yeah.
watching this.
Put it right there.
You see it every day. It's on the
Yep.
mirror.
Every
And
day.
what gets measured gets managed. What you see, what your focus is, determines your reality.
Yep.
And it's almost like it's like a vision board or a version of the vision board. So I'm really glad that you referenced that one just
Yeah.
for
Well, the
introducing it
thing
to
is
me.
too with the mirror, right? You look at it and then you reflect, literally reflect back on yourself. You see yourself.
Dude,
And then you can choose what kind of day you're going to have, right? That's the goal. That's the only goal. And then what am I going to do about that?
so
That's it.
good.
And it really helps you. Yeah.
So good. The reflection, number five. Like, yeah, just buckets of wisdom. I'd expect nothing less from you. So, John, thank you so much for the time, for the tips, the wisdom, sharing your journey. I'd say you're on fire, but you're inferno, which is even a
Uh,
level above that. And just love watching you grow and happy to be a part of the journey, man.
yeah. Thanks. I appreciate you and everything you do for us.
Absolutely.